I spent $100,000 on these internet pictures. One made me more money than my first 2 years of running a health brand. Some lost me over $50,000, and one will be my biggest bet yet. So listen, right now, your social media is filled with guys making millions of dollars in crypto, online businesses, AI agents. You're constantly comparing yourself, telling yourself maybe you just got lucky or if it's a scam. I've actually met some of these people, and I'm here to tell you that 80% of it is most likely fake. But there's 20% of people that are actually living this life way bigger than you can imagine. I'm making this video to help you to achieve your financial freedom goals 10 years earlier at least, so you can provide the life you want for your family and create something of impact for society. Right now, you probably fall into one of these two categories. The first group of people is going from the $0 to $1 million in liquid cash. I'll share everything I know here, all the sauce. I won't gatekeep anything. For group 2, you're going from $1 million to $10 million and beyond. And here is where I work with a selected group of clientele where I'll create something custom and personalized for you to get you to your goals. I'll be going through 3 frameworks. The first one will be how I 10x an investment and repeated this. The second one will be the one thing that 99.9% of you are not doing, which will cost you maybe your whole portfolio. Yes, cost me a lot of money to learn this. And the third one will be my biggest bet yet. You missed out on Bitcoin, you missed out on Ethereum. Don't miss this one. The first internet picture. So this one I actually bought for $150 and then I sold it for $200,000 plus. So it was actually 1,000x. I know it sounds a little bit obnoxious and I was a little bit conflicted if I should even share this, but I thought like this framework that I'm about to share in a second will help you guys make decisions on what to buy, what to sell, when to buy, when to sell it. This 1,000x is obviously an anomaly. What I managed to repeat is like 100x, 2x, 5x, 10x. The multiple is hard for me to control, but the fundamentals and the framework are the same. Okay, so here is something I call the money flow map. Okay, understanding this will actually help you to make decisions to understand your risk and the potential rewards that you can get. And there's 2 versions of it. Okay, the first version that I'll go through, I call it Money Flow Map 1.0, is where I see the world currently at. Okay, and then I'll share with you Money Flow Map 2.0 in a bit, which is where I think the future is going. And on hindsight, if I had this Money Flow Map 2 earlier, I would have made like so much more money, to be honest. It starts with the founder, right? So a founder would be, let's say, for someone like Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, he starts Facebook here. Okay, and then he builds Facebook. He builds Facebook, and then an angel investor comes in. So this is someone like Peter Thiel. Okay, he comes in, he sees Zucks. He's like, hey, I think Facebook is great. Let me angel invest. Okay, and then you got the VCs. Yeah, I'm not sure if Peter Thiel was a VC or angel, but I think he was an angel. And then you got a VC here, right? And then after that, you got a thought leader. Okay, so the thought leader would be someone like Gary Vaynerchuk. Okay, he famously invested in Facebook. So VCs, thought leaders, and then it goes to niche groups. Okay, and then it goes to institutions. Okay, and then it goes to the masses. And not every company would go through all of it. They will go through most of it, and sometimes in a different order, right? But this is essentially how the money flows from founder all the way to the masses. The most important thing to note is that the more you are on the tail end of it, the less risk you have, but also the less return. So, for example, let's say for institutions would be things like, for example, like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, the brokers and the traders, the investment bankers. They come in, they take Facebook, they put it into this, what I call like a factory, and then they IPO the company, and then the masses buy the shares. So that would be like taxi drivers, your mom, your dad, your friends, they buy the shares, right? And then the banks will make some spread before they sell it to the masses. Yeah, so here you can imagine you most probably won't make as much. There's obviously exceptions, anomalies, like even companies that IPO, they still 10, 20, 30x from there. But generally speaking, most companies don't do that. Most companies are on Facebook, right? And if you go more to the left, the earlier you are, let's say you're in a founder, you're in the angel investor side, you're in the VC side, this is why you see so many founders, angels, VCs, like making tens of millions of dollars, getting to like that level of liquidity in such a short period of time compared to the rest of the world. Okay. So here is where you have higher risk, way higher risk, but way more rewards. And the rewards are exponential. So here, one other thing to note is also that most companies don't even make it through each stage. So like if you see a lot of, before Facebook, right, there's a lot of social media companies, maybe they just die in the VC side, or they die at the niche group side or thought leader side, right? So this is one other thing to note. Okay, Money Flow Map 1.0 done. So now I'll share with you Money Flow Map 2.0. This is where I think the world is going. Okay, with technology, AI, blockchain. So now you have the founders. This is the same. And then now you have the niche groups. Okay. And then you have the thought leaders, the VCs, the institutions, and then you have the masses. Okay. For example, so let's say a founder of a Web3 project. So you see a lot of this in Web3 and a lot of new companies right now that are doing this, right? They raise their money through their early customers, their fans, niche groups. Okay, what I call niche groups. People who are like early users of a product. Usually they are in desperate need, they're in desperate pain, which is why they're willing to use a bad product from the founders that early. And I find this like really interesting because this allows early supporters of a business to have this like huge ROI that was not the case before. Okay, before you only get the angels, the VCs, people who already have some money, but now you have like niche groups. Okay, so I know people look at like crypto and Web3 thinking it's a scam, but let's just forget that for a minute. Let's just look at like fundamentals here, right? So right now, this obviously happens a lot in Web3, but it also happens a lot in the Web2 side. Like I see luggage brands like, I think this company called Frederick something, you know, they sponsor like F1 cars, they do like high-end luggage. They actually got their early customers in their email list, people who spend more than $1,000, the chance to invest in a company when they had like less than a $5-10 million valuation. So okay, let's go back to the Money Flow Map 2.0 here. So for me, in my case, the founder was an artist for this project called World of Women. Okay, the artist sold it to niche groups for $150. Okay, and then later, thought leaders came in, VCs came in, institutions came in, and then it hit the masses, right? So without even knowing, I managed to get this like ginormous spread, and I didn't even know it at that point in time till it happened multiple times. So this simple framework allowed me to repeat this type of investment, type of trade multiple times. Okay, this Money Flow Map 2.0 helped me to decide what is worthwhile to buy, when, which stage I'm buying at, right? When is worthwhile to sell, understanding my risk and reward. There's also obviously other things I look at. This is not the only thing I look at. So I also look at things like macro things like money supply, interest rates, evolution of technology, right? Whether the business is having any level of product market fit, no product market fit. But just to share like one core framework I use to help me make decisions that I think would serve you guys in your financial freedom investment journey. And this second framework helps me to understand the economy, okay, business, and the industry, okay? Helps me to understand the life cycle of it, which stage they're currently at. The birth of an industry, the birth of a business, okay? And then infancy, okay, toddler, teenager, okay, young adult, I'm just gonna put YA, because I have no space here. The zone of maximum maturity. I hope people can see this. And Put midlife evaluation, midlife crisis, aging. Oh, no space. Okay. Institutionalize, and then death. Okay. Yep. So this is basically the life cycle of the economy or a business or an industry. And you can use this as a good lens just to understand where we're at. The reason why I use these terms birth, infancy, toddler, teenager is because they describe the nature of the industry at that point in time, right? If I ask you guys, what stage of the industry do you think the newspaper industry is at? It's probably towards the end, right? Aging, institutionalized, or death. It's towards the end. If I ask you guys, where do you think crypto is at? Okay, crypto is interesting because crypto right now is going through some sense of maturity here. Okay, it's getting a little bit more regulated. Or Circle just went public, Shopify using stable coins. It's getting a bit more on this side right now. Right? Then if I ask you, where is NFTs at? NFTs is, to me, is at the teenage side, the teenage stage. And the reason why I say teenage stage is because think of what a teenager does. Super erratic, unregulated, right? Going through puberty. It's a cowboy town. And this is exactly where NFTs are at. So whenever people think, and I understand that NFTs right now, or Web3 for that matter, has this brand of like, people think it's still a bit scammy, still a bit shady. This is the nature of the stage is at. Bitcoin went through this stage. The internet went through this stage. Even Nike, right? Nike, when they started a company, I think they were famous for having this, like, their first iron shoe with studs. People were also very skeptical of it. It's natural for there to be a lot of skepticism here, for it to be not that regulated here, for there to be a lot of scams, for there to be a lot of shady stuff going on. This is the nature of how an industry grows. Why is this important to know? It's important to know because this will allow you to not shy away from an industry and see it for where it's currently at. So I see a lot of my friends or family, right, when they wanted to get into, let's say, an industry like crypto, they feel like, oh man, it's a bit scammy and shady. And my reply to that is like, not long ago, like 20, 30 years ago, we live in a world where there's no phones, people barely bought anything with their credit card online, and now you just put your credit card on your phone and just tap it and go. So I think this life cycle lens that I learned from masterminds, people who I think are like amazing at business, really helped me to understand the nature of the investment I'm making, the nature of the industry we're at, whether is it for my own business, for investment, or for life in general. So I hope this will also serve you guys in making your decision and serve you guys on your financial freedom journey. So that's everything for the first internet picture. Now I'll go through with you all my losses and the one key framework that I wish I knew earlier that would help me to avoid all these losses and frankly make even more money. So I call this asset allocation, asymmetric positioning. Yeah, a lot of people talk about asset allocation. The way I understand it, which is why I added asymmetric positioning at the end, is something that could help you to understand your risk and your reward and position yourself for asymmetric growth, hence the word asymmetric positioning. So this would be super fundamental in helping you guys make decisions. So if you guys have ever wondered like when you should sell something, when you should buy something, this should provide absolute clarity for you. Because so here is how to set this up. The first bucket is what I call the protect your nest bucket. Okay. So here is where you have a percentage of whatever you have that you're looking to get 5%, 7%, 10%, 15% a year. Something like safe. It's something that is almost guaranteed where you won't lose your money. The second bucket is what I call exponential growth. In my handwritings, whatever. Yeah, so here are things like crypto NFTs. Like for me, I'm running a business right? And I also add things like high leverage skill sets here, like sales, marketing, branding. Now there's AI. Bucket tree. Okay. I call this touching the dream. Okay. A lot of people don't have this, but personally, I find this more fun and exciting. So I actually allocate a percentage of my own portfolio where I'll literally tell myself that I must spend this on my dream. So, for example, like I personally like value having like a sick apartment so much, way more than a car, a watch, or a handbag. I really, really love like having like a super nice home. So I spent on this apartment. But for you, it could be a car, it could be a watch, it could be a bracelet, it could be something for your mom even. So I would say that would be what I mean by touching your dream. And the last bucket, I call it when it all fucks up. Okay. So what I call it when it all fucks up. The reason why I call it when it all fucks up is because this is basically the amount of money such that when it all fucks up, this amount of money will still put you in a position where you don't really give a shit. You can still work on your dream. You can still live the life that you want. You can still take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of your kids if you have kids. So this is why I call it when it all fucks up. So how do you decide how much to allocate into each bucket? This would depend on your age, okay, your liabilities, right? If you're any debts, okay, sorry, liabilities, right? Your if you have family, etc., etc., etc. These are a few things that I would definitely like take into consideration. Okay, so let's say right now you are age 25 and you have $10,000 in liquid cash. You have no children, and you're looking to start a business. At this point, do you think it makes sense to have all your percentage of cash in bucket one? Even if you get 7-10% a year for the next 30-40 years, it's still a sum of money, right? It's not to be looked down on. But personally, I think especially if you have the ambition to get to like 4 million, 5 million, 10 million or above, personally I find it makes more sense given your age to consider putting more in the bucket too. Okay, so maybe it could even be like 80%, 10%, 5%, 5%, right? So this, again, would be highly dependent on all these factors. Let me give you one more example. So let's say you are age 35, you have $200,000 of cash, liquid cash, and your family, you have 2 kids, and you're working a pretty sustainable 9-to-5 job. Let's say you're making 5K a month, 10K a month, 15K a month, whatever the amount is, right? Maybe here you want to put 40%. Okay, and here you want to put 30%, and then 15, and then 15. Yeah, is that correct? 40, 40, 80, 15, 95, 5. Sorry, yeah. It could also be like that. It really depends. Yeah, so sorry. Like one thing I forgot to share earlier is that for this, when it all fucks up money, you could think of it in months. So it could be like 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and if you really want, it could be like a lifetime. Okay. Right now, I'm going for like lifetime, where I just have this amount of like just all in liquid, where I know like if it all fucks up for 2 years, for the rest of my life, I really don't have to give a shit. So this is something that you guys really want to think about. And I find that it gives you so much freedom to move and take risk here. And this was how I felt when I have when it all fucks up cash stashed up. So here's everything for asset allocation, asymmetric positioning. I'll move on to the next segment now. Some of you have already guessed it. My biggest bet would be on CryptoPunks. So here is one I bought a couple of years back for 64,000 US dollars. I also bought a couple of others, which I won't share because I don't want to dox and share my wallets, because you guys can track it on the blockchain. But I think it could easily hit $1 million, and here's exactly why. So the first thing is, a lot of people look at a project like CryptoPunks, and the thing is like, I can just copy and paste. It's NFTs, it's a bit scammy, it's just art. Why is this worth money? Let me explain. So the first thing is, the thing with human beings is that we buy things to communicate our values, to amplify them. So for example, you see a tech guy in Silicon Valley wearing a Patagonia sweatshirt, a jacket, right? And t-shirt and shorts, and that's the status that he wants to have. And then you see another guy who makes a lot of money in crypto, and he's wearing a Rolex, he's driving a Ferrari, because this is the kind of status he wants to have. They are both communicating their values, right? And I would actually say that you can tell more about someone based on the things that they bought versus what they say. So the problem that CryptoPunks solve is that it gives you the ability to show your status and who you are 24/7. The value of the blockchain is to show and verify that this is the real thing and this is the owner. So what? Okay, so let's say you say, so what? So what? Who cares? So what if you show this is the owner and this is not the owner? It's the same reason why people care about a blue check mark on Instagram. We have to earn it with specific requirements, specific amount of followers, type of content. The blue check mark creates value in Instagram. People wanted it because it gave them social value on the platform, right? People care about their digital identities a lot more than they care about right now their physical identity. Okay, because we spend so much time online. The next reason is that I'm also super bullish on Ethereum, and I also think that the crypto market size will get from currently, I think it's like 2.5 to 3 trillion, and I think it will go to 100 trillion easily. This is also why you see a lot of like big VCs like A16Z, Dragonfly, a lot of big hedge funds, Cuban. You see all these like big investors investing heavily in this space. Frankly, personally, I think like over allocating the space. There's way more cash than there are good companies because a lot of them think it is the future or it is already the future. I'm also super bullish on things that are culturally significant. And for things like CryptoPunks, it's the first ever PFP project on the blockchain, or at least everyone agrees that it's the first. And this is why like you see as such notoriety, and even in the absolute bear market, it was still going for like 50K, 60K, 70K. Now I think it's like $120,000 at the time of this filming. And the last one would be, I think CryptoPunks are the RuneScape party hats of the world. So if you guys play RuneScape, you guys know what I'm referring to. And apart from the frameworks I referred to earlier, which you guys can plug and play and use it, I also see that CryptoPunks fitting perfectly in niche groups still. Okay, it hasn't really scaled to the masses yet, which is why I'm making this video. Hopefully, I'll tag this video a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows when, and I'll look back and think, man, that was a good call. Or I would, lose a lot of money where I could have bought like some houses. I'll end the video by sharing a quote by Uncle Warren, which is to be greedy when others are fearful, and to be fearful when others are greedy. So right now, as of June 14th, 2025, where do you guys think we are at?